2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a video exercise that I do every morning at around 5:30 a.m. to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with the challenges or noteworthy challenges and opportunities I may have met, where I did very well or very poorly, so I can capitalize on one and learn from the other. Also, I go over the 8 objectives of my creed, one of the principles, and I prepare for the coming day. But first, a little note and disclaimer. First note is I'm doing this video today up close and personal because I'm on my old iPhone 11. My iPhone 16 is busy uploading today's Retiring in Japan episode, which is, of course, yesterday's encapsulation of the day in video form. It was an especially long day. I think it's like an hour and 15 minutes. So it's taking a long time to process. And I got to keep glancing at it because if the screen goes dead, then the upload might stop and I have to watch it. I mean, literally every 10 seconds it kind of darkens. So I have to keep an eye on that until that's done. So excuse me if this is a distracted Good Life meditation, which is sincerely in violation of objective number 6, to do just one thing or objective number 7, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly, deliberately, and carefully. I'm multitasking for cause. Also, I have to be close in and personal because with this phone, I can't use my fancy wireless microphone. It's not the right type of setting, so I have to get in nice and tight and be very conspiratorial in our discussion. Let's take a quick look at the weather. It's 25 degrees, spot on, and 85% humidity right now. Nice and just leaving the green zone in temperature and still pretty high in the humidity. I expect this humidity to drop a bit and rise a little bit before I'm done with this video and as the day proceeds. Also, with that, let's continue with the disclaimer part. Hi, I'm Kurt. If you don't know me, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you're here. I'm a 61-year-old American guy living here in Japan in the Japanese Satoyama borderland between the countryside and the farmland of the wilderness behind us. I live here with my wife Yumiko. She's 61 as well. She's also retired. We're both Yumiko's got a half year on me, so she's over a year into retirement. She's doing great. Retirement was never any issue for her. Nothing really ever is. Yumiko just she's got life figured out. And she'll tell you it's not because of her, it's because of her Japaneseness. She's like a person that was born to be a police officer, right? Or born to be an enlisted man or woman in the Marines, right? And, they had this dream of being in the Marines. They signed up for the Marines. It was everything they expected, and their career, they decided to stay with it for their whole career. Everything was great because the Marines were exactly what they wanted to do. That's what Yumiko is. She was born and raised Japanese. Being Japanese suits her perfectly. And so she simply, for all of life's big challenges and questions, she just refers to her innate within her Japanese instruction manual. Well, what does the Japanese woman do in that situation? And she just follows that. Now, that's been a very interesting life for me because that means I call Yumiko sometimes the last Showa wife. She is what that stereotypical Japanese Showa era, 1926 to 1981 period, Japanese woman is like in every capacity. And I tell you, they're pretty amazing. An amazing specimen of humanity if you can get one. And I'm not saying that because of any chauvinistic message, or means. It's not when I set out in life, I didn't plan to find a partner that was like that, but I did, and they're pretty amazing. Yeah, I would like to think that in many ways I also have adopted into some of the Showa characteristics for a man as well, in the better sense. Both of those stereotypes have some pretty strong negatives as well. So, but I think that we both kind of tried to weed out. Well, mostly for her, she wouldn't tolerate the negative stuff from me, so continuing my disclaimer part and introduction. I do talk about sensitive subjects in these videos. I do these videos every day. I do them live, and I don't read or respond to comments until I'm done. And I will talk about anything that I like for as long as I want, because this is my journal video, so I have free liberty to speak my mind, including topics that make some people uncomfortable, like death. So you can rely on me to talk about death at least a little bit every day. My own death, that is. But beware, I might talk about other sensitive things too. I typically never talk about politics. I never talk about money, stuff like that. This is the real scary stuff. Finally, thank you so much if you're a supporter of mine. If you're like well, if you watch my videos, you're a supporter. But especially if you're a member on YouTube or a supporter on Patreon, I really, really appreciate that. All right, and let's get started. So I'm going to go over my notes from the last 24 hours and see if there's anything noteworthy to note. In the last 24 hours, I have one note. It says, first day of floating. I have latched on wholeheartedly to this idea, this image that I shared in yesterday's video at this time and in my blog post from yesterday, that I think my whole endeavor of trying to find myself in retirement has boiled down to this vision of a man floating down a gentle river, but a strong current, on an inner tube. What that suggests is some sense of freedom, yet constrained by the current itself, right? Time is going to move forward with or without me. The raw current isn't that so gentle that it's not a little bit dangerous. And I'm not alone. I'm with my wife, and we're connected by a 10 meter, which is pretty long, right? I mean, 10 meters, 30 feet, piece of rope that kind of binds our tied to the two tubes, and we're floating down the river, coming together at times, drifting apart at other times, and nevertheless making our way down towards the sea. Along the way, there are other people like us in their own tubes, floating along in various states of inflated air. Particularly older, more decrepit people, their tubes seem a little worrisomely lacking in air. They might go under at any moment, but then so could I. I could strike a little rock and burst a hole. Still more interesting, as we're proceeding along the river, through the river, on the bank, there are people standing and doing business. Young families busily, earning a living and making a home. Young adults studying in university, young people hard at work at their jobs, children playing perhaps a little bit too dangerously near the bank, not yet knowing how to either float nor swim very well or very strongly. Those are the people that are still engaged. Retirement. Thoreau once wrote, life is a stream I go a-fishing in. I would like to modify Thoreau's words and say, retirement is a river I go a-floating in. And that's exactly how it feels. And yesterday was the third day of this floating feeling. I didn't describe it yesterday as the inner tube. I didn't describe it until yesterday as this inner tube thing, but I felt it for the 2 days previous. Really, ever since I shuttered my business for good. And I got some feedback on YouTube, people saying I was being a little hyperbolic in my description of, one, my failure, two, the way that I simply just, literally like a merchant, took the big metal shutters and slammed it shut on my business, closed for business. They're like, why be so extreme, Kurt, so dramatic? Well, for one, I can do whatever the hell I want, right? I can be extreme in closing my business or not. But two, there might be a reason why I'm so extreme in this. If you follow my story, you know that I failed in the same business 20 years before. And went down really hard. Part of the reason that I went down so hard was I didn't realize the business was failing, and I continued throwing money at the business for a long, long time, until from 2007 until 2008, until I ran out of money. So I guess it's no surprise then that I would have a knee-jerk reaction now when I see the same atmospheric conditions occurring that caused me to fail before, in terms of global changes happening that are beyond my control. So instead of last time being waiting so long and wasting so much money trying to keep a business afloat that was doomed, I simply instead did the extreme opposite this time and just grabbed the metal shutters and closed the gate and said, I'm done. Now, I understand that that seems extreme, and I know that there are other merchants out there that are watching every step along the way with these tariffs to see how they can manage their own business. So watching me shutter my business all of a sudden might seem very extreme. So I understand that, and I apologize if that is, troubling in any way. I don't know why anybody would be troubled by what I do, but it seems to be. I've got a couple of messages from people telling me I'm being extreme. Well, so be it. I'm extreme. Okay, I'm going tubing. That's the thing that did it, though. Maybe, in a way, that extreme shuttering of the business and the true statement that I failed. And I want that. Sure, I didn't make the tariffs. I'm not the one that decided to do that, but I don't care. I'm going to call it my own. I'm going to own this failure. I own the failure. I failed. I'm happy to. I want that. I want that because maybe for me, calling it my own failure kind of cuts the cord a little stronger than simply saying, well, global things are happening. I can't continue with the business, so I'm going to shutter for a while. That's not as extreme as I want. I want to sever this. I want to cut the friggin' cord of the last remnant that I have with my old life. It's like severing the whatever knot was holding my inner tube to the dock of my old life. Cut it and begin to drift. And that's exactly what happened. I announced my failure and closure in earnest on Monday. It's now Sunday. I have been drifting ever since. Yesterday was the first day that I began to visualize this floating vision, and I see that now. And I even kind of had an interesting moment yesterday with my wife. I floated all day with Yumiko. We were up in the mountains. We floated into the mountains, and at Yumiko's suggestion, we found ourselves seated by the Abe River, pretty high up way up there, where the river is smaller yet still big enough to be fast and dangerous. And I really realized and I explained this whole floating thing to Yumiko, and she's like, why you stating the obvious, right? Clearly this is the case. But I sat there and looked at the river and that fast-moving Abe River, and I realized that that's exactly the river that we're in now. Insofar as not an enormous river, not full of rapids, but a strong current, one you don't want to get messed up in if you can avoid. But nevertheless, very good river for floating. Enough about that. Okay, let's go over my creed. Again, if you're wondering something seems different, I'm doing this on, if you're new, if you just joined, I'm doing this on my old iPhone 11 because my iPhone 16 is still uploading today's Retiring in Japan video, which is an hour and 15 minutes long. It takes a long time to upload. So, and I don't have my wireless mic, so I gotta get in close and personal. Let's go out of let's recite the 8 objectives of my creed from the chapter titled The Good Life. Number 1 is to be always ready to die, to have my affairs in order, my relationship sound, and my life's work complete. And I have to ask myself, am I ready to die today? Yes, I'm definitely ready to die today. Don't want to die today, especially now that I'm starting to have fun, especially now that I've seems to have gotten through the other side, as my friend Tim, who might be out there watching right now, as my friend Tim has pointed out and left in comments on this video and others, pointed out that it's a process. Julie seems to have arrived at the other side of that process, as has Robert and Evelyn as well. I'm a little late to join the party, but it's like pushing through a big hedge that looks formidable, but if you just kind of squeeze yourself in there and press yourself through the sticks and the brambles and the bugs and the spiders and pop out the other side, there you are. And I think I've popped out the other side. Number 2, the second objective is to make good and effective use of my time, to not waste my days. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions from within. 5 is to perform good actions relative to my values. 6 is to recognize my true limits and true opportunities. 7 is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully and a break, is to maintain or gain and maintain a sense of balance, which isn't something that is achieved on its own. It's a consequence of the aforementioned objectives being met to various degrees. Now, yesterday, I believe that I read, which principle did I read yesterday? Oh, I can't remember. Let me look. Yesterday, the day before I read The Pirate Ride. That means I read yesterday the principle of maturity. Today I'm going to read the social principle. I wrote the social principle after I wrote the principle of family, which precedes it, and they build upon one another. The social principle, today's principle, speaks to the need to be engaged, to not hold myself up in as much as I might want to sometimes into a hermitage, but to maintain my connections with the community at large. And then following that tomorrow, I'll read the principle of family, which is a more rarefied form of that. Social principle has three sub-principles: diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. Yes, conspiracy. We open with a quote from the inimitable Dr. Johnson. Society is the true sphere of human virtue. So well put, Dr. Johnson. Wow. Human beings generally operate in pursuit of our own well-being and the well-being of one another. We can survive alone, though we rarely flourish in solitude, and we risk that whatever understanding and wisdom we gain in deep and persistent disconnect may not be easily communicated or translated to others, and may become irrelevant babble despite being true. Like if you were to go walk on the surface of Titan, on one of the moons of our outer gas giants, you might not have much to relate to anybody else who has not experienced such a journey or been to such a place, right? Your words might come through as truly alien in that case. So the further afield we go with our life experiences, the farther removed from the day-to-day of others, true as it may be, may sound like babble and irrelevance to those of us who have not been. That's why, even though I'm not a spiritual person, I'm not a woo-y person, I don't believe in the supernatural, or at least I'd have no reason to believe in anything that's supernatural, because the very term suggests that it's beyond the measure of our sight, of our senses. I'm nevertheless cautiously wary that what people are saying, there might be something to it, because they may simply have gone so far afield that I simply, it's beyond my epistemology or my ability to comprehend. Therefore, society speaks to the need to remain connected, not only for those social benefits that come of that, but also for the social connectivity that allows us to understand and resonate with one another. Therefore, find one another and make good effort to be together and share ideas. Go alone at times, but always return to be with others. That's the punchline of going alone, is the return part. I will become a diplomat and ambassador to not only the familiar, but also the strange and new. I will strive always with others towards sane and just ends. Become a man or woman of one another. We will conspire together towards what we perceive and decide is good. These are lofty goals, something I struggle daily to attain. That is the social principle. Now, I finished all the stuff there. Now I just need to talk about what I'm going to do today. It's a Sunday. I'm absolutely free, as I am every day. Today I have my note here is more floating. I think Yumiko and her sister have something in mind for us for today. I don't know just what it is, and I don't really mind, because I'm not too deliberate anymore, and I'll just float wherever those two worthy ladies decide we're going to do today, and I will interject my own capabilities. I have the capability to adventure, and yesterday, that's exactly how yesterday unfolded. If I may reflect a little more on yesterday, Yumiko and I spent the morning with my sister-in-law Yoko at the antique market. After that, we had nothing planned for the afternoon, and as we were driving back, Yoko had to take a separate car because she was going somewhere else afterwards. I suggested to Yumiko, why don't we go home, take the dogs for a quick walk, turn on the air conditioner at the house, and you and I head up into the mountains to go look at a house that was for sale that was on our list of potential purchases when we first started our home shopping. That put everything squarely in my hands, and I suggested, and I'm very good at that. I can take a leadership role, and no problem at all. And I said, why don't we stop at the convenience store along the way? We'll get ourselves some lunch, and we'll have a nice lunch up in the mountains. And Yumiko said, and we'll go down to the river, and we did just all of that. We had the most fun yesterday. It was the kind of day that couples kind of rack up a handful of times in the course of a lifetime together. We had one of those days yesterday, which is one of the reasons I feel like it was another full day of floating. And it wasn't planned. It wasn't managed as much as by the moment. It was a day that we simply floated through, just directed by our own wills and conscious effort, best practice, and experience and consensus. And with that, I think I'm all done with all that. I have to continue to touch the phone here to make sure that this long video I'm uploading, yesterday's Return in Japan episode, uploads in full. Let's read comments. Good morning, Julie. Hi there. It's 79 Fahrenheit here today. Quite warm for us. 79 does sound pretty warm. There's Tim. Weather check from the UK at 9:40 p.m. 15.8 C and 85% humidity. Very windy and rainy day. 15.8, just a little below the green zone, and 85%. How interesting. So I guess no running for you today. I hope the plants hold up out in the garden, Tim. Akib Sirkan. Hello, welcome. Arigato gozaimasu. I think you're trying to say arigato gozaimasu, which would mean thank you very much in Japanese. Doi deshimashite. It's good to have you here, Akib. Thank you for joining us. Julie said, your description reminds me of the old sci-fi books by Philip Jose Farmer. Riverworld, I think. I've heard of those. I haven't read them. Maybe I need to pick that up. I like science fiction. Thank you for the suggestion. I'm going to write that down. Riverworld. And the author is Philip Jose Farmer. Philip Jose Farmer. One of the things I do is I tend to read kind of, I like old, 19th century classics, which I really still enjoy, but I could use a little, not that science fiction is light reading, but it's a different genre, right? I'm going to look that up, Julie. Thank you for the recommendation, or for pointing that out. Robert, there's Robert, saying hi to everybody. Julie says hi to Robert, aka Believe in Yourself. Robert says, no weather report today. I'm just preparing to go to the grocery store. Well, there you go. Retired guy does what he wants. To hell with the weather report from Napanee, Ontario. It is what it is. Julie says, don't forget that you can haul out onto the bank of the river. If you see something you want to visit for a while, then continue on floating. That is a great observation, Julie. I'm going to add that to the imagery of hauling out and leaving the boat maybe tied up at the side. And I love that. I love that a lot. Thank you. Polly Piano. I think this is the first time I've seen your name. Welcome, Polly. Hello, Kurt. I hope you have a blessed day. Well, thank you. Right back at you, Polly. There's Evelyn. I still feel way behind. In fact, tomorrow I will resume traveling overseas again for a few months. The big distraction. # distraction. I'm probably going to miss the live meditation, but I catch it every day. Wow, thank you. I'm sorry if you miss this live, Evelyn. We will miss you. It sounds like you're going overseas again for a few months. Don't know. Oh, tomorrow you're going. Oh, wow. Well, but I mean, traveling like that is one of the things, right? I mean, traveling can be a distraction, but it also can be an adventure, right? I mean, I think it's only a distraction if we are using it in that capacity. But I think if we're onto the game and we're using it for fun, I mean, like the stuff that you do, I mean, the places that you go. Are you going to Europe, back to Greece, maybe? I mean, I think you make very good use of your traveling, Evelyn. And I'll miss seeing you on the dailies. while you're gone. But wish you all the best. Look forward to seeing you when you get back. Travel, be safe, but not too safe. Tim says hi to Robert. 14B, first time I've seen your name. Welcome. You seem like a big morning person. Have you ever gotten into stargazing or tracking the moon? There are many fun things to do. I am a very big morning person. 4 a.m., sometimes earlier, up every morning. And I tend to sleep solid through the night, although I do hear, since I moved into this place, it's such a pleasant place. I do get up in the middle of the night, and I'll come out here and stand on the balcony in the middle of the night and just enjoy all the night sounds. Light a little Cultivate. You know, I got this mosquito coil burner thingy, and light like that, and just stand out here and enjoy it. And I like stargazing. I'm into astronomy, all that kind of stuff. It's nice to see you, 14B. Welcome. Tim says, first weekend for a month without watering the garden plants. Now the rains have come. Awesome. Robert says hello to 14B. Robert says hi to Polly Piano. Robert says hi to Evelyn. And Tim says, would you say, Kurt, you feel more relaxed with closing your business down? Absolutely. I feel more, I feel more, and I'm more not just closing it down, but slamming the friggin' shutters hard closed. I'm done. Now, it's funny because I'm not done. I'm still listing things every day. But I feel, it's not that I feel like there was no stress to the business, Tim. But the way I was operating the business up until a week ago, I was totally holding on to my old self, right? As you described in your comment, which I responded to this morning, you left a comment on another video about how you had wandered for 6 months before you found your way to the other side. You know, this place that I think I'm calling floating. I wasn't doing that. That was me operating the business, was me holding on to who I was. And I feel more relaxed knowing that that's over. That even if I return to the business, I'll be returning to it not as a placebo of an old life, but as a chosen activity that I want to do for the fun of it. Polly Piano says it sounds so calming outside. It's very nice, Polly. This is the little bamboo forest in my backyard, and then there's a trail. Let me turn the camera around. That's my shed, and then there's a trail that goes through the bamboo forest to our garden in the back, and then there's this little meadow behind, and then the neighbors over there. And then beyond that, there's a river. I don't know if you can hear the river. Let me be quiet for a second. And then beyond the river is just layer after layer of bamboo forest and other forest, and it just goes on all the way to the sea from there beyond. It's pretty wild back there. All right, I think I've made it to the end. And Evelyn says magical. Well, I hope you have a magical trip, Evelyn. Tim says, thanks. I saw your reply. Looking from the outside, I can see you have adopted the air of relaxation from a week ago. I think I have, Tim, but I think it's even deeper than that. And I have a question for you, Tim, because being a content creator, I'm always responding to people's content. I rarely leave replies on other people's videos. I don't watch a lot of videos, but I have a question. When I left those comments, did YouTube notify you somehow? I don't know, because sometimes I leave these very long comments to people and I wonder, will they even see them? Because, I don't know, does YouTube send a notification that says, someone actually responded to a comment? I would love to know, because you say you saw my response, and I just left that response within an hour ago. So I'm interested in if YouTube was notifying people. And Evelyn, again, I wanted to just say, reiterate again, what you're doing with your travels and the way that you're spending your time are heroic to me. I think that if I was to resume travel, which I'll probably do after, we're done, with this stage of taking care of our little doggies, you know what I mean by that, because people live longer than dogs. So I think as long as the dogs are here, Yumiko and I are going to constrain our travel, our lives to this community. But after that, maybe, and if we're still Genki, we're still fit, we might still travel. But if I was to travel, I would travel in the spirit by which you do it. Also, I think that your efforts, if you say that you're still trying to find your way through the retirement thing, well, you and I both. I've only been like 3 days of thinking I'm through the other side, but life has surprises. Let's get there together, shall we? Robert's in a grocery store right now. All right, Robert, don't forget the milk. 3%, please. Marmite says, good morning. Hey, Marmite, good morning to you. Tim says, yes, received a notification. Okay, so people do get notified. Okay, that's good to know. Because sometimes I'm tempted to leave these, because I'm working on some comments that are 6 years old. Like I'm trying to catch up now that I'm free and I have time. I'm actually responding to all of the old comments on my channel because people left a lot of really wonderful comments like years ago when I was in the heat of it and I never responded. So every day I go through in the morning, I try to go through and respond to all comments. I don't always get through before this starts. And then I try to go a couple of comments into the past, and I'm 6 years back now. So I'm wondering, will these people see my responses 6 years later? Kurt, Robert says, I engage with many live streams, mod, and some of them too. I know you do. You're good about that. And the moderation is an amazing thing that you do. And heart from Evelyn. Wishing you best, Evelyn. Have a safe travels. We'll miss you in the live comments, but we'll see you hopefully when you get back. Tim says, sorry, my comment you replied on was quite long. No, the long comments are the ones that I like the best, especially from my friends, sort of, and because those are the people that understand me, that relate, and I'm hearing from, especially my senpai, which I see you as my senpai, one of those who has gone ahead and is providing me with a reconnaissance from point. I really do appreciate that, Tim. So the longer the better. I have plenty of time to read comments, and I enjoy responding. Julie says, one caveat, I don't remember the actual content of Riverworld, so it might be annoying. Pff, don't worry about it. I've heard of that series before. It must be good. All right, I've reached the last of the comments. That's great, everybody. Have a wonderful day, all. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, whether it's a Saturday or a Sunday. Be safe, but not too safe. And Evelyn, I'm sure I speak on behalf of everybody here. We all love having you in the comments. We understand that you're going to be gone for a while. We'll be there in spirit. I may even call you out once in a while, even though I know you're not there. I know you're there in the after, in record mode, so to speak. Already autumn color on the maple. Yes, isn't it nice? My little maple here. It's coming along nice. The feeling of autumn is everywhere, Eric, right now. The crickets are coming back. You can hear them right now. It's in the air. Bye-bye, Tim. Bye-bye, Marmite. Bye-bye, all. Have a great rest of your day.